Hey guys, this is Lee with Still Raven Farms. Today we're going to talk about the importance of and all the benefits that come along with it. I am a seed hoarder. I am well aware of what that is and the problem that I have. But is it really a problem if it's feeding your family? And I don't think so. So there are a ton of benefits to starting your own seed. And to be honest with you, this could be a 4-hour long podcast, and I'm not going to do that. So the big three things and reasons why benefits as to why seed starting is so great is variety, skills, and money. So when you start your own seeds, you get to pick varieties that you like. When you go to the grocery store and you see a tomato on the shelf, that tomato is literally been bred. The variety, the hybrid, the whatever, it has been bred to look consistent. All of the tomatoes look the same. All of the cherry tomatoes look the same. They're not any different. Sure, you'll get one that's, marketed as a variety pack where they've got gold and, red and pink tomatoes in them. But for the most part, you are purchasing something that the entire job of that tomato is to look the same, ship well, and be able to sit on the shelf for a hot minute, right? But there is a sacrifice that comes with that, and it's usually going to be flavor. Those vegetables are probably covered in pesticides and herbicides and fertilizer and all of that stuff. But when you grow your own variety, you get to pick whatever variety you like. I have many seed packets that I bought simply because I liked the color. I have black creme, and I bought it because, I had heard that it was a really great, really prolific tomato, but I also picked it because it'll turn black. And that was cool to me. I've got Choco cherry tomatoes that the only reason I bought them was because they turn chocolate. Like, that's why I bought them. So when sorry, we had to distract the dog. P.S. If you hear noise in the background, it's either the dogs or the kids trying to record this podcast while they're doing their homeschool. So anyways, variety is incredibly important. When you get to choose variety over shipping or, flavor over shelf life, you get to, it opens up how many different varieties that you can get. If you go to local seed swaps, you can talk to other gardeners and find out what they grow in their garden, what does really well for them and what doesn't do so well for them. All of those things are incredibly important to your garden, right? They grow you, they grow your garden, they feed you. And so having that information is absolutely invaluable. And being able to pick and keep alive varieties that are, 300, 400, 500 years old, that's pretty cool. Now, granted, some of your heirloom varieties are only 50 years old, but still, like, you get all this history of, how it got created, why it got created. My favorite tomato is the mortgage lifter. And that's because the guy that created that variety was getting ready to lose his farm. And he had to, make a bunch of money to pay off the mortgage. And so what he did was he created this variety and sold the tomatoes and paid off his mortgage. So, like, that's really cool. And, and my entire goal is to get the house, the farm paid off and to get money in savings to retire so I don't have to work anymore, or at least work at a paycheck job. That really resonates with me. It doesn't matter if that tomato never, ever, ever does well for me. The fact that the story resonates with me, it will always have a place in my garden, right? The second reason and benefit of starting your own seeds is going to be growing your muscle, your gardening muscle. Now, I talked about, when to start an emergency garden, when to start gardening And so many people, when you talk to these hardcore preppers that are like, well, if the world comes to an end, from zombies, I'm going to start a garden then. And it's like, well, that's great. I've been gardening on and off for 10 years and I have yet to grow a watermelon. And you mean to tell me that your entire plan when it comes to, being prepared is I'm going to wait until I'm starving to death to plant a garden? Or we can start now and you can learn how to do those things. And so that podcast, I'll link it down below. But it's so crazy to me when I hear people that are like, oh, I'll start a garden when I have to. And I'm like, but it's a skill. Like, it's like you're going to wait to, learn how to build a house until you have to build a house. Well, wouldn't it make more sense to learn how to construct and, carpentry and all of that stuff? Wouldn't it make more sense to learn it when you don't have to build a house? Like, your only shelter is what you can make. So learning how to garden is incredibly important. It's incredibly time consuming. And I forget who said it, but there was a meme recently that I shared on the Facebook page that said, a gardener learns more from mistakes than successes. And that is so true. And the lessons that you learn from the garden are so important that you really shouldn't wait until you have to learn it because you're going to starve to learn those lessons. Let's learn them now when we still have access to a grocery store. And it's kind of the same thing with seed starting. Learning how to start seeds, while yes, it can be as simple as drop a seed in the soil in a container or whatever, give it some light, give it some heat and let it go. It can be that simple. But I have found in my experience, it is not that simple. It takes more effort to grow something from seed than it is to go to the store and, grab a plant and drop it in the ground. The last 2 years, we have had to go buy plant starts. Now, we haven't had to buy a ton of plant starts, but we've still had to go buy plant starts because, the first year the ducks ate all of my plant starts that I had planted. And then the second year, Blue decided that she needed to look out the window and dropped about 100 plant starts on the ground. And then we hardened off too early. And when we hardened, because it was still pretty chilly outside. So when we had to bring them back in, we didn't even think to harden them off again. So we put them right back outside while they died. So there's a lot of, trial and error that comes with the garden. And it would be so much easier to learn that when you have the safety of a big box store or a nursery where you can go pick up, a blister pack of tomatoes for, $5. So that's the second reason, the second benefit for learning seed starting. And then the third, and probably the most realistic for most people, is money saving. So again, I'm a seed hoarder. I prefer the term seed collector, but let's call a spade a spade. I'm a hoarder. I have so many seeds, I have 50 to 100 tulip bulbs in my freezer right now. I have black iris bulbs floating around somewhere. Tons of potatoes, garlic, and then seeds. They're everywhere. Granted, I try to keep them all in one spot, but that doesn't always work. And then right now, I have a giant box sitting on my front porch that has my pasture seed, grass seed, wildflower seed. It's got a ton of seed in it, and it's sitting out on my front porch because I have nowhere else to put it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to leave it on the front porch because it gets wet, but at the same time, I don't really have anywhere else to put it. So when it comes to seeds and saving money and, all of that stuff, on average, because I'm not going to go into every, possible seed pricing, but on average, a seed pack is 3 to 4 inches. That's the size of it, right? And in that seed packet, depending on whatever you're getting, you can have anywhere between 10 and 1,000 seeds, right? It really does depend. The smaller the seed, the smaller the seed, the more you're going to have in that packet. The bigger the seed, if it's a bean, if it's a green bean, you're probably not going to have 1,000 in a 3x4 inch packet. But that being said, the amount of seed that you get will range, and the price of the packet will range. So I have a packet of seeds that cost me $7, which isn't really a lot of money, but it can be a lot of money. It's a lot of money when you consider that packet of seed only has 10 seeds in it. So each one of those are kind of expensive. But it's a variety that was developed in Russia. And the whole point of it is for it to do well in the cooler seasons. That's the whole point of it. Now, in Georgia, we don't have cool seasons. We have hot and then winter. That's it. That's all we have. So when we are dealing with plants and varieties and all of that, we have to make sure that our tomato plants, as weird as it sounds, are heat resistant. They're not going to split. They're not going to crack. They're not going to do all of these things. Same with our peppers. Peppers are heat loving plants, but it gets so hot and humid here that we have to make sure that whatever variety of any plant that we're getting, we are making sure that it works well for us. So this particular tomato plant, like I said, does well in the cool. So I can start it in February and put it out after the last frost, and it will start producing in the cool weather, where most of my tomatoes don't usually start really moving and shaking until June because they like the heat. I have a tomato that in theory, I could start it in February as long as I up pot it and don't let it get root bound, put it in my greenhouse for however long, and then plant it outside. I could, in theory, have fresh tomatoes in May. Right. And then come, the blistering heat of July and August, it's probably going to die. Like, it's just the reality. But I can start it again at the end of July, beginning of August, let it grow. And then I can be harvesting tomatoes in October, November, when most people wouldn't even dream of having fresh tomatoes, because I live in the South and I can manipulate my growing conditions a little bit. I can make sure that I only plant cabbage in the fall garden or in the spring garden. Most people that live where you have 4 seasons and get snow, you have to be very precise when you plant your stuff. I don't have to be as precise. There are times where I'm going to plant carrots and I'm going to mark them. Like, all the carrots in this bed are seed carrots. I'm going to let them go to seed in their second year because they're biannuals, and I'm going to collect those seeds. This cabbage, I know damn well that this cabbage is going to go to seed before I ever get anything out of it. That's okay. That's my seed cabbage, right? That's fine. And making sure that you have that knowledge to do those things is another really important benefit that goes back to the skills. Making sure that you know how to start, when to start, all of those things. However, when it comes to money saving, seed starting can get really expensive really fast. You've got growing trays, soil seeds, grow lights, all this stuff, shelving. It can get really expensive really fast. But as long as you keep in mind that when it comes to the garden, you can go as cheap as you want and as expensive as you want. Now, I'm kind of middle of the road. I know what does well for me, my mentality, my garden, my things, right? I know that spending $6,000 on a greenhouse is not only good for my mental health, because it gives me a place to be and I can play in the soil and I don't have to worry about getting soil all over my floor and stressing about that. It also protects all of my seed starts from blue. And now probably Fenrir, because Fenrir likes to hang out with blue. And I know damn well that they're going to, go into my window seal, and start barking and raising hell and they're going to turn around and knock over my seeds because that's what they did last year. And so maybe let's not do that. Maybe let's see if we have another option. And in this particular case, a greenhouse was my other option. That all kind of being said, you don't have to have a greenhouse. You can literally take a bookshelf, like a cheapy bookshelf, you know, $100 bookshelf, $50 bookshelf that you get at Walmart, or go to a yard sale and pick up a bookshelf, line the back of it with tinfoil, and then turn around and put all of your seed starts in trays on that shelf. Make sure that the water's not going to drain out of your thing, but point it to the window. So like I would say maybe 2 feet back from the window. That way you can get in front of it and water and do all the things. But when you put the tin foil or paint it white, it's going to radiate that heat onto those plants. Those plants can grow, and you don't need grow lights. You don't need any infrastructure except for the purchase of your trays and soil and all that, which you're going to have to do anyways. And then a $50 bookshelf that you've now modified to be a grow stand. There are so many ways to start seeds. You don't have to go nuts with it. Now, again, I went nuts with it because I love seeds, and I love gardening, and I love starting plants, and I love playing in the dirt. So if you become obsessed like I have, you're going to spend some money. But you don't have to. If you don't have a lot of money to spend, it's okay. The other little caveat that I want to say is when you purchase seed starts now, or starts from the stores, I still purchase starts from the store. I have every intention on going to Lowe's this spring and purchasing like 5 or 6 of their big strawberry bushes that they have. There's like 10 plants in each one of those bushes. They're already growing. They're already doing their thing. All I have to do is dump them out and plant them wherever I'm going to plant them. And I don't have to worry about rehydrating them. I don't have to worry about, trying to start seeds and, I forgot to freeze the seeds for 4 weeks before I started planting them, and I didn't soak them, and I didn't do this. I don't have to worry about all that. I can literally go to Lowe's. They have done all of the work for me. All I have to do is purchase the plant and stick it in the ground. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Like that. There are certain times where buying from the store makes sense, and there are times when it doesn't make sense. That seed packet that I was telling you about, it's we'll just, for shits and giggles, make some examples here. It's a tomato plant. You spent $3 on the variety of that packet of seeds. You spent $3. There are 30 seeds in it, right? You're going to get germination of about 100% off of a brand new seed packet. But let's just say that you got half of that seed packet. So 15 seeds, you got them started and grown into a nice, healthy plant that you can now put in your garden. Each plant that you purchase from a big box store is going to cost you about $5. Sure, they put them on sale, 3 for $10 or whatever. But the reality is that they're probably going to be somewhere around $5. So 5 times 15 plants is $75. Minus out your seed packet, you just saved $72. If you can get that entire seed packet to grow and produce healthy plants and all of the things, and then you turn around, you have 30 plants, you have saved $47 or $147 just by trying and being successful. And like I said, y'all, I've been gardening for 10 years and I have yet to grow a watermelon. That being said, try again. You may not be successful. Try a different method. If this way didn't work, try this way. Always keep trying because you never know what method works. And then, as always, keep a garden journal so that I started this variety. I did this. None of it worked. I'm going to try this next time. That really does help. So I'm going to stop this podcast here soon because my kids are now in the living room with me, all of them, including the dogs. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.